Hello friends, travelers seeking a peaceful harbor for the soul after a long, weary day. Please turn down the glaring lights around you, put down your phone, relax your tense shoulders, and find yourself the most comfortable position. Have you lain down yet? Very good. Now take a deep breath, feel the air filling your chest, and exhale very slowly, letting go of all worries, all the noise of the city out there. Before we begin tonight's journey, I want to ask you something. Where are you hearing my voice right now? Is it in a cozy little room in Hanoi on a drizzly night, or amidst a Saigon still bustling with the sound of traffic? Or perhaps you are in some faraway place in the world, where the time zone is different, but we still meet here, in this moment of silence. Wherever you are, thank you for choosing to stop here. If you love stories that let us drift into the past like this, please gently press the like or subscribe button so we don't lose each other in the nights to come. Tonight, I want to invite you to close your eyes. Let the darkness gently embrace you. Can you imagine it? In the middle of a scorching desert, where there is only sand, wind, and eternal silence, suddenly a city appears, so magnificent that ancient travelers had to rub their eyes, thinking they were seeing a mirage. A city not built of stone like the pyramids, with no open-pit gold mines, yet so wealthy that the most powerful kings of the world had to send letters to beg for favors. A kingdom born from mud, prospering thanks to a river, and dominating the world not by swords and spears, but by clay tablets that could speak. How could a wandering tribe of shepherds erect a Paris of the Bronze Age, right in the middle of nowhere? How did mud become a weapon sharper than bronze? Our story tonight begins at a great bend of the Euphrates River, where the desert wind whispers secrets older than time itself. Welcome to Mari, the capital of wine and mud. The city born of clay. Let your mind drift back in time, drift far away, past modern days, past the Middle Ages, skimming past the era of glorious Rome. We are stopping at a timestamp around the year 2900 BC. It is a dawn in the land of Mesopotamia, the cradle of human civilization. But where we are standing is not the lush hanging gardens of Babylon you often hear about, nor the great city of Ur in the south. This place is far more desolate and harsh. Feel the heat beginning to creep through your skin as the sun just peeks out. Or your eyes is a land so flat it is eerie, stretching endlessly to the horizon. There, golden sand mixes with the reddish brown of clay, creating a scorching, dry color palette. The only sound breaking that terrifying silence is the roaring water of the Euphrates River. The river is like a giant vein, carrying life, silt, and mysteries from the distant mountains in the north, flowing through the heart of the Syrian desert. And right at the largest bend, where the river seems to want to linger a little longer before pouring into the sea, a man is standing there. His name is Yagid-Limit. Yagid-Limit is not a king dressed in silk and brocade. At this moment, he is just an Amorite tribal leader, a weather-beaten man with sun-darkened skin and eyes squinting against the dust. Standing behind him are about 300 men, women, and children. His tribe, they are shepherds, nomads accustomed to moving here and there, sleeping under the starry sky, and waking up to the bleating of sheep in the morning mist. They stopped here because of exhaustion, and because the river beckoned. But Yagid-Limit saw more than that. He looked down at his feet. There were no boulders to build walls, there were no dense forests to get wood for houses, there were no glittering gold mines. Only earth, clay, the reddish-brown clay, sticky, clinging tightly to his warm leather sandals. The desert wind blew Yagid-Lim's messy hair. He turned to look at his brothers' tired faces, awaiting a decision. And then, his voice rang out, deep and firm, drowning out the whistling wind. We will walk no further. We will stop here, the crowd murmured. A few boldly spoke up, but leader, there is nothing here. What will cover us when the sandstorms come? What will protect the sheep from wolves and bandits? We have no stone, Yagid-Lim smiled, a mysterious smile that history would later have to remember. He bent down, scooped up a handful of wet seal from the riverbank, squeezing it tight in his hand, until water ran through his fingers. He raised that handful of earth high, under the sun that was beginning to burn stone. There is none, go. Load. There is none, but of clay. We have mountains. We will use this very mud beneath our feet to build the most beautiful city in the world. A city that even the gods must turn to look at. He laughed, the laughter of skepticism, of practical. People only worried about tomorrow's meal. How could mud turn into gold? How could soft clay become solid fortress walls? But 50 years later, no one was laughing anymore. From that handful of clay in Yagid-Lim's hand that day, a miracle of human will took place. Imagine that scene. Thousands of people, from rough shepherds, became master builders. They dug the earth, mixed it with straw, poured it into wooden molds, and dried it under the harsh desert sun. Millions, billions of mud bricks were born that way, and so amidst the vast desert, a monster made of earth began to rise. Mari did not spring up haphazardly. It was planned with a superior intellect that even modern architects must tip their hats to. A perfect circle was drawn on the sand. From there, the city walls began to rise, higher and higher. Picture yourself standing at the foot of the walls of Mari at that time. The wall was not a earthen fence, it was 3 kilometers long, encircling the entire city. It was 10 meters high, equivalent to a 3-story building today, and 8 meters thick. Can you hear the wind whistling through the CR? This, but the wind could not penetrate that massive block of clay. The whole thing, yes, that entire magnificent structure was made of baked mud bricks. The people of Mari created 10 arched city gates. Remember, at that time, arch architecture was an extremely advanced technique, something the Romans only perfected and boasted about 2,000 years later. But here, in the Syrian desert, the people of Mari were ahead of their time by a whole millennium. In just 500 years, from a group of 300 wandering shepherds, Mari exploded into a megalopolis with 50,000 inhabitants. Can you imagine how terrible the number of 50,000 people was in ancient times? It was larger than the legendary city of Ur in the Bible, larger than Memphis of Egypt at that time. It was a New York, a Tokyo of the ancient world. The Sumerians in the south, who prided themselves on being the most civilized, had to look north with respectful eyes. They called Mari the city of the god Dogon, the god of wheat and abundance. The warlike Akkadians called this place the gateway of the sun god. As for the people of Mari, the descendants of Yagid-Lim, they called themselves by the most poetic and proud name, children of the wind, because here, the desert wind blew through the city 300 days a year, carrying dust but also carrying the taste of freedom and wealth from all 4 corners of the earth. It was in that moment, standing on the towering walls looking down at the gold-shimmering Euphrates River, that the people of Mari understood they had done the impossible. They had turned mud into a kingdom, but that was just the outer shell. The real miracle, the heart of Mari, lay hidden deep inside those solid walls. That was where luxury and intellect reached their peak, place that would make you exclaim in astonishment. Let us walk through the arched gate, go inside to admire the palace of King Zimri-Lim, the place dubbed the Versailles of the ancient world. Have you ever walked into a place where its beauty made you feel overwhelmed, to the point you didn't dare breathe loudly? That was exactly the feeling of any envoy who first set foot in the royal palace of Mari around 1775 BC, during the reign of King Zimri-Lim. Zimri-Lim, that name sounds like a melody. He was not the one who laid the first brick, but he was the one who turned Mari into a work of art. His palace was not just a residence for royalty, it was a miniature city within the heart of the large city. Try to visualize its scale. This palace was 2.5 hectares wide. To help you visualize better, it was 5 times the area of the White House in the US today. A massive structure with over 300 rooms and 30 large courtyards, all designed as a labyrinth of luxury and power. When you step into the Great Hall, the first thing that strikes your eyes is not the gloomy darkness often seen in ancient castles, but light and color. The people of Mari loved color passionately. The row or clay walls had vanished, replaced by smooth layers of plaster covered with brilliant frescoes. The turquoise of lapis lazuli stone imported from distant mountains in Afghanistan, the passionate vermil, iron red, the glittering gold leaf, all blended together under the light of thousands of oil lamps, creating a magical space like in a dream. Most prominent among them is the mural, The Investiture of Zimri-Lim. The painting is 15 meters long, depicting the goddess Ishtar granting power to the king. The strokes are exquisite, soft, and so vivid that it was rumored that if you looked long enough, you would see the goddess's robe fluttering in the wind and the lion at her feet blinking. It was more beautiful, more sophisticated than any Lascaux or Altamira cave painting. Before it, it was the pinnacle of Mesopotamian painting art, but the greatness of the Mari Palace did not just lie in its outward beauty. It lay in an unbelievable level of comfort. Remember we are at a time nearly 4,000 years ago, when most of humanity was still living in primitive sanitary conditions. Yet at Mari, King Zimri-Lim had built a complete underground drainage system in terracotta pipes. Can you believe it? Inside the palace were separate bathrooms, with glazed terracotta bathtubs, and a sewer system leading waste far away from the living quarters. Clean, and more civilized than even Rome or London too. 0 years later, the scent in the palace was not the smell of mold, but the smell of frankincense, of cedar resin, and the smell of pristine cleanliness. There is an anecdote that an envoy from the beautiful island of Crete, the brilliant Minoan civilization in the middle of the ocean, traveled a long way to visit Mari. When he entered the palace, he stood frozen, his mouth gaping. Later, in a letter sent home, he wrote, "I thought I had wandered into the paradise of the gods, until I saw King Zimri-Lim. He sat on a throne, made of fragrant Lebanon cedar, wearing a cloak of precious Tyrian purple wool from the Phoenicians, but he was not cold like stone statues. He grinned like a child when he saw me bring a gift of an octop US-shaped wine jar. The luxury here does not oppress people, but uplifts them, and that was Zimri-Lim's style. He did not build a palace to intimidate the people, but to enjoy life, to turn Mari into the cultural and diplomatic center of the whole world. However, in an ironic twist of fate, Mari's greatest treasure was not the gold and silver in the vault, not the magnificent murals, nor that modern drainage system. The real treasure, the thing that made Mari immortal and the thing that lets us understand them best, lay in a dark, dusty room that was the royal library. If the palace was the heart, then the library was the brain of Mari, and this brain contained up to 25,000 memory cells. Those were 25,000 fired clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform script. Imagine yourself walking into this archive room. Flickering light from oil lamps casts shadows on wooden shelves running along the walls. On them, stacked on top of each other, are thousands, tens of thousands of rectangular clay tablets, the size of a hand or slightly larger. The air here is thick with the smell of dust and the smell of history sleeping. This was the largest library of the ancient world before the library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh appeared 1,000 years later. But the interesting thing lies not in the quantity, but in the content of those clay tablets. The people of Mari did not just write about gods or thunderous feats of arms. They wrote about everything. They recorded life with meticulousness and a strange passion. In that pile of dry clay, radiologists found a whole vivid Noisy world full of drama, no different from our modern society. There are diplomatic letters sent to Hammurabi, the famous law-giving king of Babylon, but instead of prophetic words, the letters are full of bargaining. Brother Hammurabi, can you send me some more soldiers? I'm in a tight spot. I promise to pay you in your gold and a batch of premium wine just imported from the West. Help me out, my good brother. Then there are marriage contracts of Mari princesses married off to the neighboring kingdom of Yamhad. Lines laugh when reading the extremely progressive clauses protecting women's rights. If the husband raises his voice to bully or dares to eye another woman, the princess has the right to divorce immediately and bring 50 camels back to her mother's house. An astonishing fairness in a patriarchal ancient world. And more touching than anything are the trivial diary entries, the sighs carved into sea. Lay, a certain palace maid wrote, "Today the king is drunk again. He sat singing love songs at the feet of the statue of the goddess Ishtar all night again. His voice is hoarse, but he kept singing, 'I'm so tired, I just want to go to sleep, but I can't.'" Those lines of text, through nearly 4,000 years, still retain the warmth of the writer's hand. It shows us that the people of Mari were not dry characters in textbooks. They knew how to love, how to hate, how to calculate. They knew fatigue, and they knew earthly joys. The people of Mari not only knew how to write, they knew how to turn information into power. They understood that in a chaotic world, whoever holds the news holds the world. Mari's postal system operated as efficiently as a primitive internet network. A letter from Mari could reach the hands of the king of Aleppo in just a few days thanks to a continuous relay system of horse stations from a group of wandering shepherds on the burning desert, with bare hands and faith in clay. The people of Mari created a dazzling, clean, and unbelievably civilized megalopolis. They had no resources, but they had intellect. They had no overwhelming military power, but they had the finesse of master diplomats. They were ready to master the entire ancient world, not by bloody swords and spears, but by smiles, wine parties, and Egypt clay letters. But the story of Mari's paradoxical prosperity has only just begun. How could a city located in the middle of the desert, sandwich it between aggressive empires, become the navel of the universe, where gold, silver, and spices flowed like floodwaters? And why was that very wealth the seed for one of history's most beautiful and painful tragedies? The night is late, and the desert wind seems to be blowing harder outside our imaginary window. Hold on to the curiosity, nurture it in tonight's dream. Because in the next part, I will take you into the golden century of Mari, when this city became a Dubai of the Bronze Age, where even the greatest kings had to bow and call Zimri-Lim brother. For now, let the image of flickering oil lamps in the clay library and the echoing laughter of the purple-robed jinn guide you into sleep, wishing you a peaceful night, drifting gently on the Euphrates River of Dreams. Welcome back. Have you found a comfortable lay position yet? Pull the blanket up a little higher if the night turns cold, or relax your bare feet if you are enjoying a cool summer breeze. We have journeyed together through the early days, when Mari was just a crazy idea of shepherds wanting to turn mud into a kingdom, and now, as you lie quietly in this gentle darkness, I want you to imagine that time is moving a little faster. The sun has risen high, shining down on the Euphrates River, turning the water surface into a strip of gold, silk, glittering blindingly. Take a deep breath. Can you smell it? It is no longer the smell of baked earth or the simple smell of kitchen smoke in the air tonight. I want to bring you the sense of ultimate luxury. It is the pungent smell of cinnamon from India, the sweet smell of frankincense from Arabia, the heady smell of wine aged carefully in cold stone cellars, and somewhere, the faint scent of rose perfume on the robes of noble women. We are entering the most brilliant era of this city, the period from 2000 to 1761 BC. This is when Murray was no longer a city of clay. It had transformed, molded to become a Dubai of the Bronze Age, a place where luxury was the norm, and power was measured by the number of camels lining up waiting to enter the city gates. Let your imagination fly up, skim over the flat roofs, and land in the center of the ancient world, the Golden Century, when Murray was the Dubai of the Bronze Age. If there were a map of the world in 1800 BC spread out before your eyes right now, you would see Murray located in a pass that people call the crossroads of destiny. Picture this. To the north, we have the mighty kingdom of Yamhud with the bustling capital of Aleppo. To the south, down the river, is Babylon rising full of ambition, and to the far west, beyond the mountain ranges and the sea, is ancient Egypt with its divine pharaohs. Three superpowers, three giant forces, and Murray sat nestled right in the middle, according to the common logic of history. A small nation located between giants would usually be crushed, or forced to pick a side to survive, but not Murray. The people of Murray had the sharp intellect of merchants, and the fluidity of water. They did not choose any side. Instead, they chose everyone. Imagine the scene at the port of Murray early in the morning. The mist on the Euphrates River has just cleared, revealing hundreds, thousands of boats anchored, the sound of oars paddling in the water, the sound of dock workers chanting together to pull heavy cargo bales onto the shore. On land, thick dust is kicked up by the hooves of horses and the feet of camels. Every year, up to 500 merchant caravans from India and the East crossed dangerous mountain ranges to bring here copper and tin, two vital ingredients to create bronze, the most precious metal of that time. Without Murray's tin, Babylon could not forge swords. Egypt could not cast statues. Murray held in its hand the lifeblood of the technology of that era. That's not all. Look towards the western city gate. That is 300 merchant caravans coming from the island of Crete in the middle of the deep blue Mediterranean Sea, carrying golden olive oil, soft silk, and shiny pearls, and from the south, from the mysterious land of Dilmun, which is Bahrain today, to 200 other camel caravans are entering, carrying on their backs sacks of fragrant spices and alluvial gold. Murray did not produce these things, but everything had to pass through Murray. This city was like a giant toll booth of the ancient world. Every gram of gold, every piece of silk passing through here left behind a portion of profit, turning Murray into a bottomless vault of money. And standing at the peak of that wealth was King Zimri-Lim. Do you remember the smiling king I told you about in the previous part? Zimri-Lim was not only an art lover, he was also a master of bedroom diplomacy. In his harem were 50 official wives, but do not be quick to think it was just for pleasure. Each wife was a princess from a different kingdom, a different tribe. He married the daughter of the king of Yamhud to ensure a peaceful northern border. He married the daughter of the leader of the nomadic Benjamin tribe so that his camel caravans would not be looted in the desert. Zimri-Lim turned his bedroom into a living diplomat. Icy map. Every time he visited the palace of a wife, it was not just a romantic affair, but a political move, a reminder of strong alliances connected by blood and marriage. That was how Murray survived, flexible, clever, and extremely pragmatic. But that wealth and cleverness was shown most clearly not at the noisy port, but in the cool corridors of the royal palace. Let us return to that place together. Step into a special room, where the most earth-shattering secrets of history were whispered. The palace of 300 rooms, where Hammurabi also had to call him Big Bro. Though if you study history, surely you have heard the name. Hammurabi, the great king of Babylon, who enacted the famous code of Hammurabi, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Textbooks often describe him as a majestic god, a strict lawmaker with a long beard and sharp eyes. But tonight, I want you to forget that image. Look at Hammurabi through the eyes of the people of Mari. In the year 1765 BC, at this time, Hammurabi was not yet the hegemon of the world. He was just the king of Babylon, a rising power in the south, and he desperately needed money, needed soldiers from Mari. In the eyes of King Zimri-Lim at that time, Hammurabi was just an ambitious little brother who still needed protection. The relationship between these two most powerful men of Mesopotamia is recorded in detail in the clay tablets we spoke about, and their content is so mundane you will have to laugh. Imagine a hot afternoon. Zimri-Lim is sitting in the royal garden, listening to the sound of water trickling from the fountain. A scribe rushes in, holding in his hand a still wet clay tablet, wrapped in an envelope, also made of clay, the seal of Babylon. Zimri-Lim breaks the shell, squinting to read the tiny cuneiform characters. It is a letter from Hammurabi. To my beloved big brother, Zimri-Lim. The letter begins with a sweet tone. Hope you are well. Your palace is still cool, and your wine is still delicious. Brother, the situation is that I am planning to attack the city of Lhasa to expand the territory, but my troops are a bit thin. Please, for the sake of our brotherhood, could you lend me 10,000 troops? I promise once the job is done I will pay you back in full. Oh, attached to this, I will send you a gift of 100 talents of white silver and 50 of the most beautiful girls in Babylon for you to add to your dancing troupe. Zimri-Lim finished reading, laughing heartily. The laughter echoes throughout the marble corridor. He turns to the historian official, ordering a reply letter to be written immediately. Can you imagine what he said? To Hammurabi, my younger brother. Very well, 10,000 troops will depart tomorrow, but about those 50 girls, last time you sent me ones that were entirely a bit too chubby. You know. I know that is your taste, but here in Mari, I like slender dancers who know how to dance the Amorite dance. Choose carefully this time. Otherwise don't blame your big brother for not sending more war horses. You see, history is not as dry as we think. Behind the bloody conquests, behind the mighty empires, are real people with very human calculations, bargains, like buying vegetables at the market. They called each other big brother, little brother, swore brotherhood on CLI tablets. Babylon needed Mari's money and army. Mari needed Babylon's stability and goods. It was a political marriage full of benefits, but also rife with hidden suspicion. During lavish banquets at the Mari Palace, when wine flowed like streams, Hammurabi's envoys were always seated in the most solemn positions. They raised their glasses to toast Zimri-Lim's health, praising Mari's wealth, but deep in their eyes, perhaps Zimri-Lim also occasionally caught a glimpse of a covetous look. A look as sharp and cold as a bronze dagger hidden in a sleeve. But at that moment, Zimri-Lim was too confident. He believed in the power of money, believed in the intricate diplomatic web he had woven. He believed that Hammurabi, the younger brother who still constantly begged him for things, would forever be a loyal ally. That confidence was further reinforced by strange events, unimaginable guests still pouring into Mari every day. And there was one guest, one encounter, that became legendary, proving the global stature of Mari at that time, the day a man walked across the desert to meet the queen. In the ruins of the Mari Palace, archaeologists found fragments of an extremely special mural. When they pieced them together, they were stunned. The painting did not depict long-bearded Mesopotamians, nor black-line-dyed Egyptians. It depicted a man with dark black skin, tightly curled hair, draping over himself a brilliant spotted leopard skin. That was the envoy from Punt. Punt was a legendary kingdom located at the very Horn of Africa, present-day Somalia. The distance from Punt to Mari is thousands of kilometers, crossing the Red Sea, crossing the Nubian Desert, crossing the Kingdom of Egypt itself. In ancient times, That was a journey that seemed impossible, like walking to the moon, yet that man arrived, visualized the scene that day. The gates of Mari were thrown wide open. The people rushed to both sides of the road, eyes wide with wonder. A strange caravan never seen before was entering. Leading was the tall black man, walking as gracefully as a leopard. Following him were 10 camels, carrying ebony chests carved exquisitely. But what made the crowd gasp in amazement was not gold or precious wood. It was the creatures accompanying the group. 10 baboons with grey fur and bright red noses were jumping on the camels' backs. And at the end of the group, chained by thick ropes, was a rhinoceros. Yes, a live rhinoceros, right in the heart of Mesopotamia. The giant animal, skin thick as iron armor, with a sharp horn on its nose, walked heavily, each step shaking the ground. The people of Mari had never seen a creature like that. They whispered to each other that this was a monster of the southern gods. The Env Oi from Punt entered the great hall, kneeling before Zimri-Lim's throne. He offered 5 kilograms of pure gold dust, the purest gold in the world, and curved elephant tusks. He spoke in a strange language that had to go through 3 layers of interpretation to be understood. Great King of the North, the reputation of your wealth and generosity has flown with the wind all the way to our tropical forests. The king of the land of Punt sends you these gifts, wishing to establish friendship. Zimri-Lim sat on the throne, his eyes lighting up with delight. He stepped down, without a hint of fear, approaching the puffing rhinoceros. He touched its rough skin, then turned back to laugh loudly with the whole court. Do you see how vast this world is, yet all the strange, most precious things find their way to Mari? Today it is a rhinoceros. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow they will send me a hippo to release into the Euphrates River for fun. The whole court roared with laughter along with him. The party that night was the biggest party in Mari's history. Wine flowed like streams. Grilled meat scented a corner of the sky. People were drunk on victory, on feeling that they were the center of the universe. In that moment, Mari truly was paradise, an earthly paradise where every dream of wealth came true. Where a king could raise a rhinoceros in the garden, drink wine from a gold cup, and command even the mightiest armies with a few lines on clay. But my dear friend, there is a brutal law of history that Zimri-Lim, in the intoxication of victory, seemingly accidentally forgot. That is, when you are richest, is also when you are most dangerous. When the light is brightest, is also when the darkness is thickest. While Zimri-Lim was engrossed in admiring the gifts from the land of Punt, in the south, the younger brother Hammurabi was no longer smiling. The begging letters had become sparse, the praises had become perfunctory. Hammurabi had finished conquering Lhasa. Babylon's army had now grown exponentially stronger, battle-hardened and bloodthirsty. And Hammurabi's eyes were now no longer looking south or east. He was looking up the Euphrates River. He was looking towards Mari, that gilded city, with piled-up treasures and naive complacency, was like a fat, juicy piece of bait lying exposed in the middle of the desert, a piece of bait that the Lion of Babylon had craved for a long time. The sun of the golden century is slowly setting. The afternoon winds are beginning to blow harder, carrying the chill of the desert and the smell of an approaching storm, a storm not bringing rain, but bringing fire and steel. Will the 8-meter thick clay walls stop the ambition of a military genius? Will diplomatic finesse save Mari when words no longer carry the weight of swords and spears? Hold on tight to your blanket. Take a very slow and deep breath, because in the next part, we will witness the sunset of Mari, a sunset that is sad but heartbreakingly beautiful. A tragic ending where fire consumes everything, yet unintentionally protects their legacy forever after. Are you ready? Let your breathing slow down, like the flow of the Euphrates River in the final days before the storm. The night has grown very late, At this moment, perhaps the night dew has begun to settle on the leaves outside, and the noisy streets have sunk into a deep slumber. It is just you and me left, amidst this silence, walking the final leg of a legend together. Lie still, please, let your body sink deep into the soft mattress, just as ancient stones sink deep into Mother Earth. Are you ready? Take a deep breath, and feel the peace spreading through every vein. We have witnessed the brilliant dawn of Mari when it was born from mud. We were overwhelmed by the dazzling summer noon of the golden century, when gold and silver and spices flowed through the city like the Euphrates River. But the laws of the universe are immutable. Where there is birth, there is death. Where there is prosperity, there is decline. No party lasts forever, and there is no sun that does not have to set behind a mountain. Now, I want you to visualize the sky turning a crimson red. Not the red of a romantic sunset, but the red of blood and fire. The desert wind no longer carries the scent of incense or cinnamon, but begins to carry the acrid smell of ash. The story of Mari's end is not a catastrophic tragedy that will give you nightmares. On the contrary, it is a heroic epic, a proud ending, and believe me, it contains one of the most interesting ironies history has ever arranged. Come with me into the final part. Sunset in fire and a very Mari ending. Sunset in fire and a very Mari ending. 1759 BC, the day Hammurabi knocked and nitrogen monoxide one answered. It was the year 1761 BC. The Mesopotamian world was shaking. In the south, Hammurabi, the younger broth, who once wrote letters begging Zimri-Lim for every silver coin, every soldier, had now transformed. He was no longer the king of a small city-state. After devouring neighboring rivals, Babylon had become a giant monster, and that monster was hungry. Zimri-Lim, sitting on his fragrant cedar throne, perhaps felt the chill creeping into his marrow, even though the desert sun was scorching outside. Letters from Babylon became sparse. No more sweet praises, no more fancy gifts. Instead, there was silence. A silence as terrifying as the sea before a tsunami. And then, what was bound to happen, happened one morning. Scouts from the southern border rode horses at breakneck speed back to the capital, bringing bad news. Dust covers the horizon. It is not a sandstorm. It is the Babylonian army. Hammurabi had arrived, but this time he did not come alone. He brought 40,000 elite troops, equipped with gleaming bronze swords and giant siege engines. Before attacking, Hammurabi sent a final letter to Zimri-Lim. Its content, according to what has been passed down, was full of the hypocrisy of a conqueror. Dearest brother Zimri-Lim, I heard you are well these days. I am leading my troops through here, and since it is on the way, I just wanted to drop by and visit your magnificent palace. Open the gates, let us brothers drink wine and converse. I am just dropping by for a visit. Can you believe it? Dropping by with 40,000 weapon-wielding soldiers. Zimri-Lim read the letter. He smirked. It was the sad smile of someone who had seen through the dark heart of the world. He knew that opening the gates meant death, and not opening them also meant death. Mari had only 10,000 defenders. The walls, though 10 meters high and 8 meters thick, though made of the best mud bricks, could not stand against destiny. But Zimri-Lim was a child of the wind, a proud descendant of those who turned mud into gold. He did not accept dying on his knees. He replied to Hammurabi, a letter that was brief but full of spirit. I am very busy. The palace is being repainted. It is dusty. I am afraid it will dirty your cloak, little brother, next time. That answer was like a slap in the face of the arrogant king of Babylon. Hammurabi was enraged. He ordered the attack. The siege was fierce for months. Imagine the sound of war. Drums booming day and night, the sound of catapults hitting the walls, shaking the ground. The people of Mari fought with all the desperation and love they had for their city, but the river O.F. history had changed course, and no one could stop it. When the city walls broke, when the Babylonian army flooded in like floodwater, Zimri-Lim knew the final moment had struck. He stood in the middle of his magnificent palace, the Versailles of the ancient world. He looked at the exquisite murals, looked at the throne, looked at the silk curtains fluttering. He did not want to leave anything for the traitor. And in that decisive moment, Zimri-Lim did something that sounded crazy at first, but was an unconsciously genius move. He ordered, burn it all for me. He did not want Hammurabi to seize Mari's treasure of knowledge. He wanted to drown everything in a sea of fire. Torches were thrown onto the curtains, onto the dry cedar beams. The fire flared up violently. It was a scene both terrifying and mesmerizingly beautiful. The 300-room palace, an architectural masterpiece of humanity, turned into a giant torch blazing in the black desert night. Fire lit the turquoise murals. Fire consumed the throne. Fire swallowed the precious Persian rugs. The people of Mari did not surrender. They chose to vanish into nothingness along with their city. When Hammurabi entered the great hall the next morning, he saw no gold, silver, or jewels. He saw no kneeling to beg for mercy. He saw only ash, corridors blackened with smoke. The heat of the fire, it was so intense it melted bronze objects, turning the palace into a giant ceramic kiln. Hammurabi angrily ordered the complete destruction of what remained. He had soldiers smash the walls, leave out the houses, determined to wipe the name Mari off the world map. He wanted that, in the future, no one would remember a city that dared to look down on Babylon. But Hammurabi, with all his wisdom, made a mistake, an ironic mistake that only the gods could arrange. He forgot that Mari was made of clay. And fire. Fire does not destroy clay. Fire hardens clay, the very fire of hatred that Zimri-Lim lit with his own hands, and the fire of destruction from Hammurabi, instead of destroying the royal archives, accidentally baked the 25,000 unbaked clay tablets in the library. It turned soft, fragile lumps of mud into rock-hard ceramic. Defying time and the elements, Mari died. But its soul was preserved forever by the enemy in an indestructible shell. For 1,000 years buried under sand. After 1759 BC, the name Mari disappeared completely from human memory. The Euphrates River still flowed, but it gradually changed course, moving far away from the ruins of the city. The desert sand, patient and cruel, began its work. Year after year, century after century, layers of fine sand covered the ruined walls. Imagine time passing as fast as a time-lapse film. Other empires rose and fell. The Assyrians came, then the Persians, the Greeks of Alexander the Great, the Romans, then the Arabs. They passed through this land, camped right on the hilltop beneath which lay Zimri-Lim's palace. But no one knew, they did not know that, right beneath their feet, just a few meters deep, a Pompeii of the East was sleeping. A city once brilliant with color was now just a name. Less gray-brown mound, called Tel Hariri by the locals. Mari became a legend, a story Bedouin mothers told to lull their children to sleep in tents. Once upon a time, there was a gold-plated city, floating on the river, but because of arrogance, the wind god hid it away. That silence lasted for nearly 4,000 years, a long, enduring sleep. Until a winter day in 1933, it was a normal morning like any other morning in the past for millennia. A group of Bedouins were burying a deceased relative on the Tel Hariri mound. While digging the grave, a man's pickaxe hit a hard object, clung. The sound was not like hitting stone. He bent down, brushed away the dust, and pulled up a headless stone statue. When he looked closely at the shoulder of the statue, he saw sharp cuneiform inscription. Time's destiny had spoken, the door of time had cracked open. French archaeologists led by André Parrot, immediately arrived. When they began to dig down, they could not believe their eyes. They found not just a few antiques, they found an entire world. Imagine the emotion of André Parrot when he held a small brush, gently sweeping away the dust on the floor of a large room. Underneath that dust appeared thousands, tens of thousands of small ceramic bricks stacked on top of each other. 25,000 tablets, still intact. They lay there, neatly on wooden shelves that had burned to charcoal, are scattered on the floor, exactly like the day Zimri-Lim ordered the palace burned. The fire of yesteryear had baked them, protecting them from humidity, from termites, and from the erosion of tea. André Parrot had to exclaim, "We have not just found a city, we have found the memory of an entire era." Mari had returned from the dead, and this time, it told its story louder and clearer than ever before, the legacy that still trolls us to this day. My dear friend, do you see the humor of history here? Hammurabi, the victor, the one who wanted to wipe out Mari to monopolize the glory, ultimately became the victim of his own act of destruction. Today, when we read the clay tablets found at Mari, we know more about Hammurabi than from any other source. But we do not know him as a majestic god. Thanks to Mari's archives, we know an everyday Hammurabi, a Hammurabi who often begged, calculated, and was sometimes a bit petty. Letters like, "Brother Zimri-Lim, lend me soldiers, brother, why did you send so little gold, brother, the girl last time wasn't pretty," all are exposed before the eyes of modern humanity. If Zimri-Lim had not burned the palace, if Hammurabi had not torched the city, those clay tablets would have dissolved into mush under the rains of the past for 1,000 years. The very fire of destruction became an eternal museum display case that was the final troll, the mischievous wink of Zimri-Lim from the other side of the world. Mari died, yes, the magnificent palace is now just low earthen walls, the brilliant murals have faded, the music, the laughter, the scent of incense, the smell of spices, all have vanished into the wind and sand. But Mari did not die in shame, it died a brilliant death. To protect the truth, when you stand before the ruins of Mari today or look at them through photos, because modern war has once again wounded this land, listen, in the sound of the wind whistling through the cracks of the terracotta walls, you will not hear weeping. You will hear the whispers of a civilization that knew how to live beautifully and knew how to die beautifully. Lines hear the voices of builders joking while mixing mud with straw, the voices of merchants bargaining over silk prices, the voices of princesses drafting marriage contracts, demanding equal rights, and above all, the hearty laughter of King Zimri-Lim. He seems to want to tell us, do you see, stone can wear away, gold can be melted, but clay, the most ordinary, cheapest thing, once passed through red fire, becomes eternal. That is the final lesson Mari leaves for our sleep tonight. That sometimes, the things that seem weakest, softest, are the most durable, that in the ashes of defeat, the seeds of immortality always exist. The night is very deep now, the story of Mari, the capital of wine and mud, about the life-loving King Zimri-Lim and the difficult neighbor, Hammurabi, closes here. I hope that the image of that golden city, shimmering like a mirage in the desert, will follow you into your dreams. Imagine you are lying on a small boat, drifting lazily on the ancient Euphrates River. The cool water laps against the side of the boat. The wind carries the scent of water lily and the earthy smell of silt. You are drifting drifting far away from the worries of the present, drifting to a peaceful past where time stands still. Sleep well, my friends. And if tonight, in your dream, you meet a man wearing a purple wool cloak, sitting on a throne and holding a fired clay tablet, smile at him. Until the next journey into the past, I wish you a peaceful night and a very deep sleep. Good night.